The notion of hell as a place of eternal punishment for the wicked is one of the most enduring and emotionally charged concepts in religious thought. For many, it evokes images of fiery torment, unending suffering, and divine retribution. Yet, this concept is not universal across all religions or even within denominations of the same faith. Some religions outright reject the idea of hell, while others reinterpret it as a metaphor or temporary state. This video explores the argument that hell is a lie, a construct rooted in cultural, psychological, and theological manipulation rather than divine truth, and examines why certain religions do not subscribe to its existence. Through a detailed analysis of historical origins, philosophical critiques, and theological perspectives, we will uncover why the concept of hell is contested and dismissed by some faiths. To understand why some view hell as a lie, we must first trace its origins. The concept of a punitive afterlife is not inherent to all ancient religious traditions, but emerges distinctly in certain cultural and historical contexts. In ancient Mesopotamia, for instance, the afterlife was often depicted as a shadowy, neutral realm like the Sumerian Kur or Babylonian Irkalla, where all souls, regardless of moral conduct, resided in a dreary existence. Similarly, early Hebrew thought, as reflected in the Torah, described Sheol as a vague, subterranean abode for the dead, devoid of reward or punishment, Ecclesiastes 9:10. These early conceptions lack the vivid imagery of torment associated with later ideas of hell. The fiery, punitive hell familiar to many today took shape during the Second Temple period of Judaism, circa 516 BCE 70 CE, and was heavily influenced by Persian Zoroastrianism, which introduced dualistic cosmology and eschatological judgment. Zoroastrian texts describe a molten metal purification for the wicked, a precursor to later Christian and Islamic depictions of hellfire. By the time of the New Testament, Hellenistic influences, including Greek ideas of Hades and Tartarus, further shaped Jewish and early Christian afterlife beliefs. The Gospel accounts, particularly in Matthew 25:41 and Revelation 20:10, emphasize a lake of fire for the damned, cementing hell's terrifying imagery in Christian theology. Critics argue that this evolution reveals hell as a syncretic human construct, not a divine revelation. The selective adoption of foreign afterlife concepts suggests that hell was shaped by cultural exchange and political needs rather than universal truth. For instance, during periods of oppression, such as under Babylonian or Roman rule, apocalyptic visions of divine justice, including hell, provided hope for the righteous and warned oppressors of retribution. This historical contingency leads some to view hell as a lie, a fabricated tool for social control rather than an objective reality. Philosophically, the concept of hell raises profound questions about divine justice and morality, prompting some to reject it as incompatible with a benevolent deity. The traditional Christian and Islamic view of hell posits eternal torment for finite sins, a disproportionate punishment that challenges notions of fairness. Enlightenment thinkers like Voltaire and modern philosophers like Bertrand Russell argued that eternal suffering contradicts the attributes of a loving, omniscient God. If God is all-knowing, why create beings destined for damnation? If God is all-powerful, why not redeem all souls? These questions expose what critics call the problem of hell, akin to the problem of evil. Moreover, the psychological impact of hell's threat undermines free will, a cornerstone of many theologies. The fear of eternal torment may coerce obedience rather than inspire genuine moral choice, reducing faith to a transaction driven by self-preservation. This coercive element is why some, like Universalist Christians, argue that hell is a theological fabrication designed to manipulate behavior. Universalism, rooted in the belief that God's love ensures salvation for all, 1 Timothy 2:4, dismisses hell as a lie that distorts divine compassion. Ethically, the idea of hell can foster division and dehumanization. Historically, the threat of hell has justified crusades, witch hunts, and religious persecution, as believers condemned heretics or infidels to eternal doom. This divisiveness prompts some modern thinkers to reject hell as a toxic doctrine that breeds fear and intolerance rather than love and unity. Several religions and denominations explicitly reject the traditional concept of hell, offering alternative views of the afterlife or denying its existence altogether. Below, we explore key examples and their theological reasoning. Modern Judaism, particularly Reform and Reconstructionist branches, largely dismisses the traditional notion of hell. While ancient Jewish texts, like the Book of Daniel 12:2, mention posthumous judgment, the focus in Judaism is on Olam Haba, the world to come, a spiritual realm of divine closeness, not punishment. The Talmud describes Gehinnom as a temporary purification process lasting no more than 12 months rather than eternal torment. For many Jews, the emphasis is on earthly life and ethical conduct, not afterlife speculation. The absence of a dogmatic hell reflects Judaism's focus on God's mercy and the belief that punishment, if any, is corrective, not vindictive. Buddhism rejects the concept of a permanent hell, though it includes temporary realms of suffering within its cosmology. The Naraka realms, described in texts like the Abhidharmakosa, are places where beings endure intense suffering due to negative karma. However, these states are not eternal. Once karmic debts are paid, beings are reborn into other realms. Buddhism's emphasis on impermanence and the cycle of samsara, rebirth, precludes a static, everlasting hell. The ultimate goal, nirvana, transcends all realms, rendering hell a transient illusion. For Buddhists, the idea of an eternal hell is a lie because it contradicts the fluid cause and effect nature of existence. Hinduism, like Buddhism, includes temporary hellish realms, Naraka, ruled by Yama, the god of death. These are places of purification, not permanent damnation. The Bhagavad Gita and Puranas emphasize karma and reincarnation, where souls cycle through various states until achieving moksha, liberation. The absence of eternal hell aligns with Hinduism's non-dualistic philosophy, which views all souls as sparks of the divine, Atman. The idea of eternal punishment is incompatible with the belief that all beings ultimately return to Brahman, the universal consciousness. Unitarian Universalism, a liberal religious movement, explicitly rejects hell as a doctrine. Drawing from Christian roots but embracing pluralism, Unitarian Universalists emphasize universal salvation and human dignity. They argue that hell is a fear-based construct that contradicts reason and compassion. Instead, they focus on creating a just world in the present, viewing afterlife beliefs as speculative and secondary. Jehovah's Witnesses deny the existence of hell as a place of conscious torment. They interpret biblical references to hell, Gehenna, Hades, as symbolic of annihilation or non-existence. For them, the wicked are destroyed in the final judgment, not eternally punished, Revelation 20:14. This view stems from their belief in a just God who does not inflict sadistic suffering, rendering traditional hell a theological falsehood. Similarly, Seventh-day Adventists reject eternal hell, advocating conditional immortality. They believe that only the righteous receive eternal life, while the wicked face eternal destruction. 2 Thessalonians 1:9, not ongoing torment. Hellfire, in their view, is a finite event that consumes evil, not a perpetual state. This interpretation aligns with their emphasis on God's justice and mercy. Despite its rejection by some faiths, hell persists in religions like mainstream Christianity and Islam due to its theological utility. Hell reinforces moral accountability, deters sin, and underscores divine sovereignty. In Christianity, passages like Matthew 13:50, weeping and gnashing of teeth, and in Islam, Quranic verses like Surah al-Baqarah 2:206 describing the fire, anchor hell in sacred texts. For believers, hell is not a lie, but a necessary expression of divine justice. However, the rejection of hell by certain religions reflects deeper theological priorities. Judaism and Eastern traditions prioritize ethical living and spiritual growth over afterlife threats. Universalist and annihilationist Christian denominations emphasize God's love or justice over punitive suffering. These faiths view hell as a lie because it misrepresents divine character, distorts human freedom, or contradicts metaphysical principles like impermanence or divine unity. The concept of hell, while deeply ingrained in some religious traditions, is not a universal truth, but a culturally and historically contingent idea. Its origins in ancient syncretism, philosophical inconsistencies, and ethical dilemmas lead many to view it as a lie, a human construct designed to control behavior and enforce conformity. Religions like Judaism, Buddhism, Hinduism, and certain Christian denominations reject hell, either denying its existence or reinterpreting it as temporary or metaphorical. Their reasons, rooted in mercy, reason, or metaphysical coherence, challenge the fear-based narrative of eternal punishment. Ultimately, the debate over hell reveals not only theological diversity, but also humanity's enduring quest to reconcile justice, love, and the mystery of the afterlife.